Chapter 22. Vivienne skipped in joy as she walked down the hallway. It was adorned with elegant and enchanting decorations, signaling that an important ceremony was about to take place. Today is the day of the wedding, Vivienne thought happily as she looked around, doing a final checkup before the ceremony began. My freedom is near. I've already prepared my resignation letter, and I'll hand it to the crown prince after his honeymoon. Vivienne reached her destination and knocked on the door. The door opened, revealing Ava in her stunning wedding dress, with her makeup perfectly applied to her face. Vivienne was left speechless, feeling like she had just seen a goddess in front of her. You look absolutely beautiful, Vivienne complimented, making Ava smile with happiness. Are you ready? Vivienne asked, extending her hand. Yes, I'm ready, Ava replied, accepting Vivienne's hand. Side by side, the two walked together, with Vivienne confidently leading the way for Ava. The hall looks absolutely stunning, Ava said in awe, her eyes glimmering with excitement and admiration as she took in the elegant decorations. I can't believe this is all for our wedding. It feels like a dream come true. I am glad it's to your liking, Vivienne answered, a warm smile on her face. Thank you for all your help along the way, Vivienne, Ava said gratefully. I'm just happy I could be of assistance, Vivienne replied humbly. I hope we can be friends forever, Ava said, her eyes shining with sincerity. I'd be honored to be your friend forever, Vivienne said, feeling touched by Ava's words. As they both reached the grand doors, Vivienne was reminded of her first day arriving at the palace. I used to struggle walking around this place, and now I know it like the back of my head. Not only that, I'm not even tired from walking around here anymore, Vivienne thought, reflecting on how much she had grown and adapted to her surroundings. The crown prince is waiting for you. I hope you two will be the happiest couple, Vivienne said with a warm smile, gently letting go of Ava's hand. Thank you. I am very nervous, Ava replied, her voice tinged with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Take a deep breath in and out. And walk out there with confidence, Vivienne encouraged, giving Ava a reassuring smile. I'll have to go now. See you later. Ava nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude for her friend's support. As Vivienne quickly walked away to take her seat in the audience, Ava took another deep breath, mustering the strength to step forward into her future as she approached the crown prince, who stood waiting at the altar. When Vivienne sat down at her seat, Ava was already halfway down the aisle. Vivienne's heart swelled with joy as she watched Ava walk down the aisle. The whole scene felt surreal, like a dream come true. Seeing her friend, whom she had grown so close to over the past few months, radiate happiness on her special day brought tears of happiness to Vivienne's eyes. The bride looks like a true goddess, Vivienne heard someone whisper from the audience, and she couldn't agree more. Ava's grace and beauty captivated everyone in the room, including the three men who had once argued over her wedding arrangements. Now they all stood in awe, realizing that their beloved goddess Ava was about to become someone else's beloved wife. Vivienne's mind wandered back to the day she had arrived in this world, not knowing what her role would be or how her life would unfold. And now, as she witnessed the culmination of the story she had unknowingly stepped into, she couldn't help but feel grateful for the journey she had taken. As the ceremony progressed, Vivienne's heart was filled with happiness and a sense of fulfillment. She had not only survived this fantastical world, but had played a vital role in shaping the course of events. The wedding had been a success, and her journey navigating the story was over. But despite knowing that her time as a secretary was over, Vivienne didn't feel sad. Instead, she felt contentment and joy. She had made wonderful friends, helped create a beautiful wedding, and witnessed love bloom between two people destined to be together. And most importantly, she had found her own path to happiness. As the crowd erupted into applause when the couple exchanged their vows, Vivienne smiled through her tears. It is finally over. I am finally free, Vivienne thought with relief. My role is over. After the wedding vows, everyone gathered in the dining area to start eating. The royal couple went around greeting guests, engaging in small conversations as they enjoyed the festivities. Your Highness, would you like some water? Vivienne asked Ava, holding a pitcher of water. Yes, please, Ava replied with a smile. Vivienne poured water into Ava's glass and handed it to her. Ava thanked Vivienne and took a sip, relieved to quench her thirst after engaging in numerous conversations with the guests. Suddenly, Ava started coughing uncontrollably after taking a sip of water, and then collapsed to the floor. "The crown princess has been poisoned," someone from the crowd shouted in alarm. "Block the entrance. Call the doctor and secure the person responsible for giving Ava this water," the crown prince commanded urgently while embracing Ava, trying to hold back tears. The palace guards immediately sprang into action, following the prince's orders, while Vivienne stood there in shock and fear, still held by one of the guards. "I swear I had no idea there was anything wrong with the water," Vivienne protested, her voice trembling. The crown prince's eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation, trying to make sense of what had just happened. His concern for Ava was evident, but he couldn't ignore the possibility that someone might have tried to harm her. "I don't know if you're involved, but we'll get to the bottom of this," the crown prince said sternly, instructing the guards to take Vivienne to a holding area while they investigated the incident. Vivienne's mind raced with confusion and disbelief. "What is going on? I thought nothing bad would happen after the wedding. Isn't this supposed to be the happy ending scene?" she thought, feeling disoriented as the course of the story suddenly shifted. As Vivienne was led away, her heart sank, knowing that her freedom had suddenly turned into a nightmare. She could only hope that the truth would come to light, and that Ava would be safe. In the holding area, Vivienne was left to her thoughts, wondering if there was something she had missed or if she had unintentionally played a role in the unfolding tragedy. She knew she needed to remain composed and find a way to prove her innocence, but the weight of the situation felt overwhelming. Meanwhile, the palace guards, under the crown prince's direct orders, were conducting a thorough investigation. The atmosphere in the palace had turned tense as everyone searched for answers and hoped for Ava's recovery. As time passed, Vivienne's anxiety grew, and she couldn't help but feel a sense of responsibility. She had always been dedicated to her role as a secretary, but now she felt like she was drowning in uncertainty and fear. Vivienne's heart pounded in her chest as she heard the footsteps approaching. The crown prince and Milo appeared with guards behind them, indicating that the investigation was over. Her heart leaped with a glimmer of hope, thinking that they had finally found the real culprit, and that she would be cleared of all accusations. "Vivienne, you are deemed guilty of attempting to assassinate the crown princess. Your punishment is death." The crown prince's words hit her like a sudden blow, leaving her stunned and speechless. "No, that can't be true. I would never do such a thing," Vivienne pleaded, her voice trembling with disbelief and fear. She couldn't comprehend how the situation had turned against her so drastically. Vivienne felt shock and betrayal surge through her veins as the unexpected outcome unfolded before her. All her efforts to assist the crown prince seemed to have been in vain, and she couldn't fathom how she had ended up being accused of such a heinous act. "Your Highness," Milo intervened, stepping protectively in front of Vivienne. "Please, you must investigate further. Vivienne is innocent." "We agreed to hear her side of the story before making any judgments," he urged, his voice filled with determination. The crown prince's face hardened and he seemed unwilling to listen. "What is there to hear?" "The evidence is against her," he retorted. Witnesses in the hallway claimed Vivienne was envious of Ava and that she used this opportunity to harm her. Vivienne's heart sank as she realized that she was up against the biases and misunderstandings of those around her. The people's misconceptions had clouded the truth, and she now found herself trapped in a web of accusations she couldn't escape. "Milo, thank you for defending me, but I fear it may not be enough," Vivienne whispered, feeling a sense of helplessness wash over her. She knew the situation was dire, and without concrete evidence, her plea for innocence might fall on deaf ears. Milo's eyes locked with hers, filled with unwavering support. "We won't give up, Vivienne. We will find a way to prove your innocence, no matter what it takes," he vowed, his words providing a glimmer of hope in the darkness. "Milo, it's best not to let your personal feelings get in the way. A quick death is the most fitting punishment for her betrayal after all the hard work she put in, as a great secretary," the crown prince coldly stated. Anger flared in Milo's eyes as he retorted, "You're the one letting your personal feelings cloud your judgment." The tension in the room escalated as Milo's defiance clashed with the crown prince's unwavering stance. Vivienne felt like a pawn in their power struggle, her life hanging precariously in the balance. "Vivienne, you've practiced this scenario before. Come on, use that now," Vivienne thought, trying to muster up the courage to defend herself. She attempted to recall all the times she had imagined defending herself in various situations, but her mind felt clouded and fear paralyzed her. No words came out of her mouth, leaving her in an unsettling silence. The Crown Prince's harsh glare intensified, putting immense pressure on Vivienne. The weight of the accusations and the impending judgment seemed insurmountable. At that moment, she felt like all her preparation had gone to waste, and her confidence had deserted her. Feeling defeated and overwhelmed, Vivienne's gaze instinctively darted toward Milo, hoping to find some reassurance or support. To her surprise, she saw a look of unwavering determination in his eyes, as if he was silently urging her to stand strong. Milo's silent encouragement served as a lifeline for Vivienne, reigniting a flicker of determination within her. She took a deep breath, pushed aside her fear, and found her voice. "Your Highness, please give me a chance to explain. I would never harm Ava or anyone in this palace. I have been devoted to my duties, and my loyalty lies with the royal family." Vivienne spoke with a newfound sense of confidence, her words laced with sincerity. The room fell into a tense silence, and the Crown Prince's expression softened slightly, as if he was willing to hear Vivienne out. Milo's supportive presence gave her strength, and she continued to explain herself, recounting the events of the day leading up to Ava's sudden illness. With every word, Vivienne's voice grew steadier, and her defense became more coherent. She presented her side of the story with clarity and honesty, providing a detailed account of her actions and interactions with Ava throughout the day. As she spoke, Vivienne noticed some of the guards and palace staff nodding in agreement, recognizing her dedication and genuine concern for Ava's well-being. Her sincerity and devotion were evident to those who knew her best. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Vivienne's defense came to an end. The room was filled with an air of anticipation, and all eyes were on the Crown Prince as he deliberated. The Crown Prince's stern expression softened, catching Milo's attention. Seeing the prince's softened expression, Milo decided to speak up. "Remember how you said I can always ask you a favor? Then, grant me this one. Give me just 1 week to investigate," Milo said firmly, determination gleaming in his eyes. After a moment of contemplation, the prince reluctantly nodded, giving his approval. "No one dares lay a finger on her," Milo warned, his voice firm and resolute. He was ready to protect Vivienne at all costs and would stop at nothing to prove her innocence. With the prince's reluctant agreement and Milo's unwavering determination, Vivienne felt a glimmer of hope reignite within her. She knew she had a true ally in Milo, someone who would fight for her until the truth was exposed. Over the next week, Milo tirelessly investigated every lead, leaving no stone unturned in his quest for the truth. As the days passed, his determination never wavered, and he worked tirelessly to clear Vivienne's name. Finally, after a week of relentless efforts, Milo gathered enough evidence to prove Vivienne's innocence beyond a doubt. The true culprit was exposed, and the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, revealing a carefully orchestrated plot against Vivienne. With the evidence in hand, Milo confronted the Crown Prince once again, this time with irrefutable proof of Vivienne's innocence. The prince was left with no choice but to acknowledge the truth and offer a heartfelt apology to Vivienne. Gratitude welled up in Vivienne's heart as she witnessed the lengths to which Milo had gone to defend her. His unwavering loyalty and determination not only saved her life but also strengthened their bond even further. From that day on, Vivienne knew that she had found a true companion in Milo, someone she could rely on no matter the circumstances. The palace's trust in her was restored, and she could finally breathe freely, knowing she was valued and respected. As for the true culprit, justice was served, and they faced the consequences of their deceitful actions. The palace returned to a sense of harmony, and Vivienne's faith in the world she now called home was restored. After Ava's successful recovery from the poison, Vivienne reached a pivotal realization: it was time to tender her resignation as the palace secretary. The wedding might have marked a significant chapter, but Vivienne had come to understand that it was far from the end of the story. Remaining at the palace posed too great a risk to her safety. Chapter 23. As Vivienne gazed at her resignation letter, a sigh escaped her lips. She hadn't anticipated developing such a strong attachment to her job. Her mind began to drift, and a series of questions tugged at her thoughts. Why didn't the story conclude at the wedding? What lies beyond this point? Am I overlooking something crucial? Typically, after a wedding, tales take a leap forward to a blissful ending, Vivienne pondered. I believed I had found security, but it seems I'm still treading on fragile ground. There's little reason to remain here. It's wiser to return home, where safety and certainty await. Vivienne took a deep breath, determined to gather her courage as she made her way toward her familiar workplace. Each step felt burdened with uncertainty, but she pressed on, unwilling to succumb to her doubts. As she reached for the doorknob, her heart raced, anticipating the encounter that lay beyond. Pushing open the door, Vivienne was greeted by the sight of Milo, diligently engrossed in his work, just as he always was. A sense of comfort washed over her at the sight of his serene dedication. "Good morning," Vivienne, Milo warmly greeted, glancing up from his task. With a faint smile, Vivienne returned the greeting. "Good morning, Milo." She approached him slowly, her mind racing with unspoken emotions. As Milo noticed the unease in Vivienne's expression, he gently inquired, "Are you all right? Is there anything I can do to help?" Taking a deep breath, Vivienne mustered her resolve and shared her heartfelt decision. "Actually, I have decided to resign from my position as the Crown Prince's secretary and return home." With a touch of vulnerability, she presented him with the letter of resignation she had prepared. For a moment, a profound silence enveloped them as Milo absorbed the unexpected news. He hadn't anticipated Vivienne's sudden intention to quit, yet a part of him understood the reasons behind her choice. Deep down, he too had been contemplating a similar path. "I understand. You'll have to inform the Crown Prince himself," Milo replied with a hint of melancholy in his voice. "I will truly miss having you around." Vivienne offered him a soft smile, appreciating the genuine sentiment in his words. "Thank you, Milo. Your friendship and support have meant the world to me during my time here." As the reality of parting ways sank in, Vivienne felt a mix of emotions. While she looked forward to the newfound freedom and safety her decision would bring, she couldn't help but feel a tinge of sadness at leaving behind the familiar and the connections she had formed. "I can always come to visit," she reassured Milo, hoping to alleviate some of the wistfulness. "I am not moving away, I'm simply planning not to work here anymore." Milo's eyes brightened at the prospect of her visits, and a warm smile returned to his face. "That would be wonderful. Our relationship doesn't have to end just because our roles change." Vivienne nodded, touched by Milo's understanding and openness. "You're right. True relationships endure through time and distance." "Vivienne, I must confide in you that I also plan to quit this job," Milo revealed with a hint of determination in his voice. "However, before I depart, I'll take it upon myself to find someone suitable to fill the role of the Crown Prince's secretary. It might take some time, but rest assured, I won't leave this responsibility unattended." Surprise and relief washed over Vivienne upon hearing Milo's plans. Knowing that he would ensure a smooth transition brought her comfort. She couldn't help but admire his sense of responsibility and dedication, even as he prepared to embark on a new chapter of his life. "Milo, that's incredibly thoughtful of you," she said, gratitude evident in her eyes. "I know you'll find the perfect person for the position." With a warm smile, Milo continued, "Once I've taken care of that, let's celebrate together. It'll be a well-deserved occasion for both of us." The idea of celebrating with Milo lifted Vivienne's spirits. They had shared many trials and joys during their time at the palace, and marking the end of this chapter together felt fitting. "I'd love that," Vivienne replied, her smile growing wider. "It will be a celebration of new beginnings and the possibilities that lie ahead." "I'm relieved to know I'm not the only one considering quitting. If Milo decides to leave as well, it means we'll both have a lot of time on our hands," Vivienne thought, a glimmer of excitement entering her mind. "With more free time, I could finally have the opportunity to hang out with him, or perhaps even muster the courage to ask him on a date." As the day wore on, the familiar sound of the Crown Prince's arrival reverberated through the palace corridors. With a customary loud bang, the door announced his presence, stirring a mix of anxiety and determination within Vivienne. Seizing the opportune moment, she mustered her courage and approached the Crown Prince. Handing him the carefully prepared resignation letter, she spoke calmly yet firmly, "Your Highness, I have something I need to discuss with you." The Crown Prince glanced at the letter, his expression momentarily perplexed. "What is this about, Vivienne?" he inquired, his curiosity piqued. Taking a steadying breath, she replied, It is with a heavy heart that I must tender my resignation as your secretary. I have appreciated the honor of serving you, but I've come to the realization that it is time for me to move on." As Vivienne's words sank in, a mix of emotions flickered across the Crown Prince's face: surprise, disappointment, and perhaps a touch of understanding. "I think you should inform the Emperor about this. After all, it was he who sent you here," the Crown Prince stated, handing the resignation letter back to Vivienne. "Thank you for your unwavering service and loyalty throughout all this time." Vivienne was pleasantly surprised by the Crown Prince's response, noting the newfound maturity and reason in his words. As she reflected on their interactions throughout her tenure as his secretary, she couldn't help but feel a sense of joy and pride at witnessing his character development. Vivienne nodded, acknowledging the Crown Prince's suggestion. She understood that informing the Emperor was the proper protocol, given the nature of her appointment. As she accepted the letter, she couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions: gratitude for the Crown Prince's kind words and a sense of duty to see the process through. "Thank you, Your Highness," she replied with genuine appreciation. "It has been an honor to serve you and be a part of your court." Upon hearing Vivienne's words, the Crown Prince nodded in acknowledgement, his demeanor retaining an air of regal composure. With a thoughtful expression, he silently took in the weight of her decision. After a brief pause, he rose from his chair and gracefully excused himself from the office. "Wow, the Crown Prince has truly grown," Vivienne remarked aloud, her voice tinged with joy and pride. Milo nodded in agreement, offering a reassuring smile. "That is correct. I can rest easy now, knowing that if I were to quit this job, the Crown Prince would still be more than capable of handling his responsibilities." With the Crown Prince having acknowledged her resignation, Vivienne turned her attention to tidying up her area, and to her surprise, Milo offered his assistance. Together, they carefully organized the belongings that had become a familiar part of their daily lives. As they worked side by side, they engaged in a small talk, reminiscing about the memorable moments they had shared during their time as co-workers. However, as Vivienne finished tidying up her belongings, a feeling of nostalgia washed over both of them. It was an unmistakable sense that something meaningful was coming to an end, and their bond as co-workers would soon take on a different dimension. "Vivienne, can I have a goodbye hug?" Milo asked gently, a touch of vulnerability in his voice. "I know we'll see each other again, but this is a farewell to being co-workers. The next time we meet, we'll have different titles." Vivienne's heart swelled with warmth at his request. She understood the significance of this moment and the bittersweet transition that lay before them. With a gentle smile, she nodded and opened her arms, welcoming the embrace they both needed. As they held each other in a heartfelt hug, time seemed to stand still. Vivienne felt a mix of emotions: gratitude for the friendship they had nurtured, excitement for the new chapter unfolding, and a hint of sadness at the prospect of saying goodbye to their roles as co-workers. "You've been an amazing colleague," Vivienne said softly, her voice expressing her genuine appreciation. "Thank you for your support, your understanding, and for being there for me throughout our journey here." Milo's embrace tightened for a moment before he pulled back, his eyes shining with sincerity. "And you've been an incredible confidante, Vivienne. Your dedication and kindness have made a lasting impact on me." As they parted from the hug, Vivienne could feel the unspoken promise that their connection would continue to flourish, even beyond their roles as co-workers. With the certainty that their friendship would endure, she looked forward to the next phase of their lives, knowing that their bond would remain a constant source of strength and support. As they said their final farewells as co-workers, Vivienne and Milo felt a renewed sense of excitement for the future and the boundless possibilities that lay ahead. While they might have been saying goodbye to one chapter, they knew that the next chapter held the potential for even deeper connections and shared experiences. With hearts full of gratitude and anticipation, they set out to embrace the new titles that awaited them on their journey of growth and friendship. As Vivienne stepped out of the workroom carrying all her belongings, a mix of emotions swept over her. She felt a strange sense of both weirdness and excitement, knowing that her life was about to take a new direction. With a quickened pace, she was determined to inform the Emperor of her resignation as soon as possible. As she approached the familiar room where the Emperor resided, something within her shifted. Gone was the nervousness and weariness that had plagued her before. Instead, a newfound confidence seemed to fill her every step. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Vivienne confidently knocked on the door. she was met by Alfred, the familiar face of the Emperor's loyal aide. "What can I do for you, Secretary Vivienne?" Alfred inquired politely, his eyes reflecting curiosity. With unwavering poise, Vivienne replied, "I need to speak with the Emperor. It's regarding an important matter." Alfred nodded understandingly and gestured for her to enter. As she stepped into the room, she couldn't help but feel a surge of determination. This was her moment to stand tall, to express her decision with conviction, and to face the Emperor as an equal, no longer bound by the title of a secretary. As she waited for the Emperor to acknowledge her presence, Vivienne found a sense of calm settling over her. She knew that she was making the right choice for herself, and with that knowledge came an unshakable self-assurance. When the Emperor finally turned his attention to her, Vivienne met his gaze with clarity and resolve. "Your Majesty, I have come to tender my resignation as the Crown Prince's secretary." The Emperor regarded her with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. "Resignation? May I know the reason behind this decision?" With a steady voice, Vivienne explained her reasons, expressing her desire for a safer and more fulfilling path. She spoke with eloquence, conveying her gratitude for the opportunity to serve and her understanding of the importance of prioritizing her well-being. As she finished, the room fell silent for a moment. The Emperor seemed to carefully consider her words before nodding thoughtfully. "I see," he replied, his tone measured. "Your dedication has been invaluable and I respect your decision. You have served with distinction, and I wish you the best in your future endeavors." With a sense of closure and satisfaction, Vivienne thanked the Emperor for his understanding. As she walked away from the room, she knew that this marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one filled with possibilities, growth, and the excitement of shaping her own destiny. With a heart brimming with confidence and optimism, she stepped into the future, ready to embrace whatever challenges and triumphs lay ahead. As the palace doors closed behind her, Vivienne looked forward to the adventures that awaited her, grateful for the experiences that had shaped her, and excited for the unlimited potential that lay beyond. Just when Vivienne thought her life within the palace walls had reached its conclusion, an unexpected turn of events was about to unfold. Little did she know that the palace life, rather than being left behind, was about to come to her instead. Chapter 24. When Vivienne returned home, her family greeted her with open arms and warm smiles, which she gladly accepted. They all gathered for a wonderful feast, laughter and joy filling the air as they shared stories and caught up on each other's lives. Vivienne relished in the familiar comfort of her family's company, grateful to be surrounded by their love and care once more. That night she slept soundly, knowing she was no longer obliged to wake up early or tend to royal duties. In the realm of dreams, Vivienne found herself in a serene vision of her peaceful life. She wandered through lush meadows, feeling the gentle caress of the breeze and the warm embrace of the sun. It was a dream of contentment and freedom, a reflection of the life she had longed for. As Vivienne woke up and descended to her living room, she was taken aback to find a young girl standing before her with golden hair and golden eyes. Vivienne blinked in surprise, wondering if she was still lingering in the realm of dreams. The girl's presence seemed ethereal, like a vision from a fairy tale come to life. "Princess Artemis, why are you here?" "School hasn't started yet," her younger brother, Leopold, spoke up, breaking the spell of confusion that had enveloped Vivienne. "Princess Artemis?" "The Crown Prince's younger sister. I knew it. I wasn't dreaming." Vivienne's mind raced as she looked between her younger brother, Leo, and the young woman standing before her, now confirmed to be Princess Artemis. The realization filled her with a mix of astonishment and wonder. How could she have overlooked such a significant detail? As Vivienne tried to make sense of the situation, she noticed her brother's surprisingly nonchalant demeanor. It dawned on her that Leo and Artemis must be more than just acquaintance, they were likely classmates or close friends. The pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place. "Leo, how many times do I have to tell you to just call me Artemis?" Artemis gently scolded Leopold, her warm smile lighting up the room. "Also, I am here to give your sister a letter." "You could have had a servant hand it over for you," Leopold remarked, raising an eyebrow at Artemis. Artemis shook her head with a playful smile. "This is confidential, so I must be the one to hand it over," she replied, her tone filled with determination. Vivienne accepted the letter, her curiosity piqued. As she carefully unfolded the letter, Her eyes widened in shock at the unexpected revelation it held. She glanced up at Artemis, seeking confirmation, and the princess nodded with a knowing smile, affirming that what Vivienne saw was indeed true. Ava is really pregnant, Vivienne thought to herself, her surprise evident on her face. That was fast. I should visit her since she did request it. I just stepped out yesterday, and now I have to go back. This is going to be weird. What is going on? Leopold asked, his curiosity evident in his furrowed brows. Vivienne took a deep breath as she showed the letter to Leopold. His reaction surprised her. There was no look of shock or disbelief, just a knowing expression that seemed to answer her unspoken question. So are you going to visit her today? Leopold inquired after finishing reading the contents of the letter. I will have to now, Vivienne replied with determination. Your Highness, thank you for taking the time to give me this letter. I'll quickly get dressed and head to visit the Crown Princess. Let's go back together. We can ride using my carriage together, and when you finish visiting, we can come back together as well, the young princess, Artemis, happily offered, her eyes shining with excitement. Vivienne couldn't help but feel a bit suspicious at the princess's eagerness, but then something clicked inside her mind as she observed the interaction between Artemis and her younger brother, Leopold. She noticed how Artemis looked at him with eyes that held a hint of affection, perhaps even a budding crush. On the other hand, her brother seemed completely oblivious to the situation, lost in his own world. Thank you for the offer, Your Highness. Then I'll have to trouble you, Vivienne replied, appreciating Princess Artemis' kindness. No need to rush. I can wait, the young princess said with a gracious smile, showing her patience and understanding. As Vivienne finished getting dressed, her mind couldn't help but wander back to the affectionate glances Artemis had been giving her younger brother, Leopold. The princess's crush on him seemed evident, and she couldn't help but find it endearing. I wonder how long this crush has been going on. My younger brother can be a bit oblivious at times, Vivienne thought, her smile growing wider as she imagined the possibility of a blossoming romance between the two. Once ready, Vivienne joined Artemis in the carriage, and they set off on the journey back to the palace. The rhythmic sound of the carriage wheels filled the air, and a comfortable silence settled between them as they both seemed lost in their thoughts. Vivienne's curiosity, however, grew stronger with each passing moment, prompting her to break the quietude. So how long have you been having a crush on my brother? Vivienne asked, a playful glint in her eyes, breaking the silence. The young princess's face turned a shade of red, betraying her embarrassment as she responded, Was it that obvious? Does he know? I doubt my brother knows, Vivienne reassured her with a smile, understanding Artemis' concerns. He can be a bit oblivious, so rest assured. Artemis let out a sigh of relief, but the unease still lingered in her eyes. With a hint of vulnerability, she continued, I've liked him for 3 years now. It all started back at school when he helped me with my studies. That was when I began to admire him for his kindness and gentlemanlike nature. Her voice softened as she shared the memories that had shaped her feelings for Leopold. Vivienne listened attentively, sensing the depth of Artemis' emotions and the significance of those moments in her heart. A lot of girls like him, too, Artemis admitted with a touch of uncertainty. So I doubt he would notice me since there are a lot of prettier and smarter girls who also like him. I know that my younger brother is comfortable around her. I am just not sure if he likes her, but I don't want to see the young princess having an unrequited love, Vivienne thought, her mind filled with both concern and amusement. She'll need to work hard. He is an oblivious guy. As expected, my younger brother can be a male lead if it were in another story. Vivienne gently placed her hand on Artemis' shoulder, offering her support. Artemis, you are beautiful both inside and out, she said, her voice filled with sincerity. Your kind heart and gentle spirit are what make you unique and special. Don't compare yourself to others. Leopold may not have noticed yet, but I have no doubt that he will see what a wonderful person you are. Artemis looked both touched and hesitant, unsure of whether to believe in the possibility Vivienne was presenting. You really think so? She asked, her eyes searching for reassurance. I truly do, Vivienne replied, her voice unwavering. Sometimes the most genuine connections are the ones that are built on friendship and shared experiences. Leopold may not be quick to recognize his own feelings, but trust me, your friendship means a lot to him. And who knows, with time, he might come to realize just how special you are to him. Artemis, hearing Vivienne's encouragement, started to feel more confident in herself. As they reached the palace, Vivienne looked at the grand building with familiarity, her heart warming at the memories it held. "Let's make this quick," Vivienne thought. Ava had expressed her desire to have a private conversation with Vivienne, so Artemis graciously parted ways. As Vivienne knocked on the door, she was greeted by Ava's beaming face. Without hesitation, Ava pulled Vivienne inside her room, excitement evident in her eyes. The room was filled with warmth and a sense of familiarity, just like old times. "It's so good to see you," Vivienne Ava exclaimed, embracing her friend tightly. "I've missed you." "Vivienne." "I'm so glad you're here," Ava exclaimed, hugging her friend tightly. Vivienne looked at Ava with concern as she noticed her friend moving around a lot, worried that Ava might accidentally trip or hurt herself. "I would like to offer my heartfelt congratulations," Vivienne said with a warm smile, "although unfortunately I wasn't able to bring any gift today. But next time I'll make sure to prepare one for you. I heard you urgently wanted to see me, and even though I am no longer the Crown Prince's secretary, please know that I'll always be here to support you to the best of my abilities." As Vivienne spoke, her professionalism shone through, a testament to her years of experience as the Crown Prince's secretary. Despite the change in her role, her dedication to helping her friends remained unwavering. Ava nodded, appreciating Vivienne's reassuring words. "Thank you, Vivienne. Your presence here means the world to me," she replied, her voice filled with sincerity. "I understand that things have changed, but I value our friendship beyond any official role you once held." "As your friend, I'll always be by your side," Vivienne said, her tone softening with warmth. "Whatever you need, just know that you can count on me." "I do have something I need your help with," Ava began, her tone serious and filled with concern. "I am worried about raising my child to become a healthy, strong, smart, and kind adult in the future. I want you to be there for them and help me in this endeavor. If anything were to happen to Apollo or me, I trust your judgment to care for our child until they come of age." Ava handed Vivienne a letter, her face reflecting the weight of the request she had just made. This letter formally recognizes that, in the event of any unfortunate circumstances, you have the right to take care of our child. Vivienne was taken aback by the gravity of Ava's request. Her mind raced with conflicting emotions, unsure of how to respond. The enormity of the responsibility weighed heavily on her shoulders. "Ava, this is a significant decision," Vivienne replied, her voice tinged with a mix of surprise and concern. "Are you certain about this?" Ava nodded, her gaze unwavering. "I have given this a lot of thought," she said earnestly. "You have always been a dear friend and someone I trust implicitly. I cannot think of anyone else I would want to entrust with this responsibility." Vivienne felt deeply touched by Ava's faith in her. Their friendship had endured many trials, and she knew the strength of the bond they shared. However, the magnitude of this role was not lost on her. "I am honored that you trust me in this way," Vivienne said softly, "but I need some time to think about it. This is a decision that will shape the course of our lives." Ava nodded understandingly, her concern for her child evident in her eyes. "Of course, take all the time you need. I wouldn't ask this of you if I wasn't sure of your capabilities and dedication." With the letter still in her hands, Vivienne promised Ava that she would carefully consider the responsibility being asked of her. The weight of the decision loomed over her, and she knew that she needed time to reflect on it. Chapter 25. Amidst the quiet of the room, Vivienne cradled the baby in her arms, her thoughts a swirling sea of uncertainty. Did I make the right decision? She questioned herself, her gaze fixed on the child with golden hair and piercing blue eyes. Across the room, Ava lay unconscious, her still form a stark contrast to the crown prince who wept by her side, a portrait of sorrow and desperation. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air, a delicate balance between hope and despair. Vivienne's attention returned to the baby in her arms, a small life entrusted to her care. As she prepared to bottle feed the child, her mind drifted back to the path that had led her to this moment. 9 months ago. A full week had passed since Ava had asked Vivienne to consider the weighty responsibility of caring for her unborn child. Vivienne had kept her thoughts closely guarded, unsure of how even to broach the topic with others. However, as days turned into a week, Vivienne realized that her silence was causing Ava undue concern. The weight of her indecision began to take its toll, and she found herself grappling with the discomfort of the situation. It was with a heavy heart that she arrived at a decision she believed would bring her closer to declining the request. Upon entering the palace, Vivienne wasted no time in seeking out Ava. She knew that it was time to provide an answer, even if that answer carried a sense of reluctance. But as she approached Ava's location, a pang of worry gripped her heart. Ava appeared frail and sickly, her normally vibrant demeanor replaced with one of exhaustion. Without a second thought, Vivienne rushed forward, her reflexes kicking in as she steadied Ava, preventing her from falling. "Ava, are you all right?" Vivienne's concern was evident in her voice as she supported her friend. Ava managed a weak smile, though it was clear that she was struggling. "Vivienne, I'm glad you're here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Vivienne's apprehension momentarily faded, her focus shifting entirely to Ava's well-being. "Save your energy, Ava," she insisted gently. "Let's get you to a more comfortable place first." With Ava's arm draped around her, Vivienne guided her towards a nearby sitting area where they could talk without the added strain. She could see that Ava's condition had deteriorated more than she had realized. In a rush of insight, Vivienne's mind began to connect the dots, forming a complete picture of the puzzle that had eluded her until now. Understanding dawned upon her, shedding light on the depths of Ava's request. Ava must have believed that her own life was at risk during childbirth, Vivienne realized, the pieces falling into place. Her mind raced through the implications of Ava's plea, each thread of reasoning weaving a narrative that explained the urgency behind the request. Ava's delicate health, the evident strain it had placed on her, and the Crown Prince's unwavering concern, they all converged to form a tapestry of concern that Vivienne had been blind to until this moment. As she contemplated the gravity of Ava's situation, a new realization struck her. Ava wants to protect her child, even if it means facing the possibility of her own mortality. Isn't Ava the female lead? I thought the female lead was supposed to live happily ever after with her children. The weight of her thoughts settled heavily upon her, casting a shadow over her understanding. Vivienne's contemplation was interrupted by her own voice, spoken aloud, a reflection of the tumultuous storm within her mind. "Ava, did you request me to be the child's guardian because you fear for your own life during childbirth?" Vivienne's inquiry held a mix of concern and empathy, her words laced with a sincerity that resonated in the room. Ava's expression flickered, caught off guard by the directness of Vivienne's question. For a moment, a veil of vulnerability clouded her features before she met Vivienne's gaze with a steady resolve. "Yes," Vivienne Ava admitted softly, her voice carrying a weight that bespoke the depth of her fears. "The physicians have expressed their concerns, and I couldn't bear the thought of leaving my child without a mother." The room seemed to hold its breath as their eyes locked, the unspoken bond of friendship and shared understanding bridging the gap between them. At that moment, Vivienne's perspective shifted, and her own internal struggles paled in comparison to the selflessness before her. Ava Vivienne's voice was unwavering, a testament to the depth of her commitment. "I am ready to take on the role of your child's guardian, should anything happen to you or the Crown Prince." With a sense of determination, Vivienne retrieved a carefully prepared letter, its significance weighing heavily in her hands. Swiftly, she affixed her signature to the document, a tangible testament to her promise. She extended the letter to Ava, a silent invitation for her to add her own signature, solidifying their shared understanding and mutual trust. Tears glistened in Ava's eyes, a poignant reflection of the emotions swirling within her. "Thank you, Vivienne," she whispered, a mixture of relief and gratitude in her voice. As they shared this intimate moment, Vivienne felt a profound sense of purpose settle within her. The decision she had made carried an even greater weight now, but she knew that her commitment to Ava and her child was unshakable. In the wake of Vivienne and Ava's agreement, a new chapter unfolded, one marked by Vivienne's consistent presence at the palace over the span of 9 months. Her visits to Ava became a steady rhythm, a routine woven into the fabric of their lives. Amid the preparations and growing anticipation, the bond between them deepened, solidifying the promise they had made. However, the newfound responsibilities came with their own set of adjustments. As Vivienne devoted her time to supporting Ava, her interactions with Milo became less frequent. Yet whenever their paths did cross within the palace's corridors, they managed to steal brief moments for conversation, a testament to the enduring connection they shared. Time danced by in a whirlwind, and before they knew it, 9 months had come and gone. The palace, once a backdrop to their laughter and shared secrets, now stood as a silent witness to the impending arrival. The moment of truth had arrived, and Ava's labor had begun. The air was charged with both excitement and apprehension, the weight of the situation palpable. As Ava's strength waned and the room buzzed with activity, Vivienne stood by her side, her determination unwavering. The specter of Ava's earlier fears now cast a long shadow over the room. Vivienne's gaze shifted between Ava, who lay unconscious, and the doctors working tirelessly to safeguard her life. The gravity of the situation was not lost on her. Ava's well-being hung in the balance, a reminder of the fragility of life itself. Amidst the chaos, Vivienne cradled the newborn baby in her arms, a symbol of the future they had all been eagerly awaiting. The child's innocent gaze met Vivienne's, a silent reminder of the bond that had brought them all together. As she gazed down at the baby, a sense of responsibility and determination welled within her, a promise to protect and nurture the life that now rested in her care. Back to the present. The passing days felt like an eternity, each moment weighted with anticipation and uncertainty. When will Ava awaken? The question echoed in Vivienne's mind, a persistent reminder of the passage of time. A full week had elapsed since Ava's labor, yet her consciousness remained elusive. Vivienne's gaze alternated between the delicate form of the newborn in her arms and Ava's still, unconscious body. The room held an air of hushed tension, as if time itself had held its breath in solidarity with their collective hope. As Vivienne cradled the baby, her touch tender and protective, her eyes flickered to Ava's still form. The rise and fall of Ava's chest was a reminder of the delicate balance they navigated, a dance between hope and the unknown. A curious thought flitted through Vivienne's mind, a spark of possibility in the midst of their uncertainty. Could a kiss from the crown prince awaken Ava? The notion lingered, an ember of speculation glowing amidst the shadows of their situation. In this realm of historical fantasy, where magic intertwined with reality and the realm of possibility knew no bounds, Vivienne pondered the hidden depths of Ava's existence. A sense of mystique surrounded her friend, an aura of enigmatic power that hinted at the untold facets of her being. Vivienne's gaze shifted to Ava's serene face, her features a canvas of peaceful slumber. The implications of her thoughts took shape, intertwining with the delicate threads of the fantastical world they inhabited. In the realm of ancient legends and potent mysticism, Ava's connection to a higher power could not be dismissed. Perhaps there's a touch of the divine within her, Vivienne mused, considering the implications of such a notion. And if there is, could a kiss hold the key to her awakening? The mere idea of such an act held an air of whimsy and intrigue, a notion that danced along the edges of their reality. A kiss, an age-old symbol of love and connection imbued with the potential to transcend even the boundaries between life and slumber. Yet, despite the allure of the notion, Vivienne's practicality tempered her musings. Doubt and hope danced in a delicate balance, like sunbeams filtering through the leaves of an ancient forest. Could it truly work, or is it the stuff of fanciful tales? Vivienne's mind churned with a new purpose, a plan forming like ripples in a tranquil pond. How can I persuade the crown prince to bestow that crucial kiss upon Ava? Her thoughts raced, calculating the path ahead. Confidence surged within her after all. Convincing him should be a simple feat. With determination in her eyes, Vivienne turned her attention to the crown prince, who had been a steadfast presence by Ava's side. As her voice emerged from the midst of her contemplation, it was imbued with both earnestness and the spark of an idea. I believe, Your Highness, she began, her gaze steady as it met his, that there's a possibility Ava might awaken with a kiss. Her words hung in the air, a tantalizing notion that dared to bridge the gap between myth and reality. Vivienne held his gaze, her conviction evident, even as her heart raced beneath her composed exterior. In her eyes, the flicker of a request lay dormant, a plea for him to embrace the unorthodox path that might rouse Ava from her slumber. The crown prince regarded Vivienne with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The notion she presented was undoubtedly unconventional, and the weight of the situation bore heavily upon his features. Yet, within the depths of his gaze, she glimpsed a flicker of consideration, a willingness to entertain the possibility. A silence settled between them, a space in which Vivienne's unspoken plea hovered, delicate yet resolute. The room seemed to hold its breath, the very air charged with a tension that mirrored the uncertainty of their circumstances. At last, the Crown Prince's features softened a subtle shift that conveyed his silent contemplation. "A kiss," he repeated, his voice a murmur laden with contemplation. Vivienne nodded, a blend of anticipation and hope animating her features. "Yes, Your Highness. In tales of old and realms steeped in magic, a kiss has been known to awaken even the deepest of slumbers." A palpable sense of possibility lingered, the notion that destiny could be rewritten by an act as simple yet profound as a kiss. Vivienne's heart thrummed with a mix of nerves and determination, a readiness to witness the very threads of fate being woven before her eyes. In a moment suspended between hope and uncertainty, the Crown Prince's gaze held a blend of determination and vulnerability. With deliberate slowness, he leaned in, his lips brushing against Ava's in a gentle, tender peck. The room seemed to hold its breath, every heartbeat echoing the silent plea that reverberated through the air. Then, as if the very fabric of their reality responded to the profound act, a miracle unfolded before them. Vivienne's heart skipped a beat as Ava's eyelids began to flutter, the delicate fluttering a testament to the spark of life rekindling within her. A gasp of astonishment escaped Vivienne's lips, a symphony of emotions crashing over her like waves against the shore. In that moment, time itself seemed to pause, a canvas upon which their intertwined fates had been painted anew. The triumphant beat of Ava's heart echoed the cadence of their collective hope, an affirmation that love and magic could defy even the most daunting odds. As Ava's gaze met Vivienne's, a knowing smile graced her lips, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had embarked upon together. The room, once shrouded in uncertainty, was now aglow with the radiant light of an awakening soul. The Crown Prince's act of love had bridged the gap between slumber and consciousness, reuniting friends in a shared moment of triumph. Vivienne's laughter, a joyful refrain that echoed through the room, was a testament to the power of belief, the bonds of friendship, and the magic that danced on the edges of their reality. And as the echoes of laughter subsided, replaced by a poignant silence, Vivienne's heart swelled with overwhelming gratitude. In that singular moment, they had defied destiny itself, reminding the world that love was a force that could awaken even the deepest of slumbers. With a gentle exchange, Vivienne carefully passed the baby into Ava's waiting arms. Stepping away, she left the room, allowing the newfound family to embrace the private cocoon of their shared moment as the door closed behind her. A sense of release washed over Vivienne, like a weight lifted from her shoulders. Finding herself in solitude once more, Vivienne sank to the floor, her fatigue and tension dissipating in the wake of their triumph. The air around her seemed to breathe with newfound lightness, and a relieved chuckle escaped her lips, a mixture of disbelief and exuberance. A sigh escaped her, a blend of exhaustion and elation. "A kiss can save a life," Vivienne mused, her mind still processing the intensity of the moments that had unfolded. A smile graced her features as she leaned back against the wall, the cool surface a comforting contrast to the whirlwind of emotions that had consumed her. As she caught her breath, a sense of gratitude swelled within her. "It's moments like these that remind me why I'm a part of this fantastical world," she reflected. "Now that Ava is safe and sound, I can finally take a moment to rest," she mused. The events of the day had taken their toll, and the prospect of a quiet respite was a soothing balm for her weary soul. As she pushed herself up from the floor, Vivienne couldn't help but marvel at the twists and turns that had led them here. Life in a fantasy novel may be unpredictable, but it's also undeniably extraordinary, she thought, a sense of contentment settling over her. With a final glance back at the closed door, Vivienne turned and made her way toward her own haven, eager to embrace the serenity of rest after a day that had, quite literally, been filled with magic. Chapter 26. "Cheers," Vivienne exclaimed, the crisp sound of her glass meeting Milo's resonating through the air. 4 months had passed since the remarkable awakening of Ava through the kiss of the Crown Prince. In the wake of this extraordinary event, whispers of their tale had woven through every corner of the kingdom, a narrative that seemed to transcend the boundaries of reality. As news of the royal couple's rekindled bond spread like wildfire, conversations among men and women alike were ceaselessly filled with chatter about their destined love story. The very air seemed to hum with a collective sense of enchantment, as if the echoes of their tale had become an integral part of the kingdom's tapestry. In the wake of these remarkable events, a new chapter unfolded in the kingdom's history. The emperor, moved by the undeniable bond between the crown prince and Ava, made the momentous decision to officially crown the prince as his successor, anointing him as the next emperor. Beside him, Ava ascended to the esteemed role of empress, her grace and strength acknowledged by all. Amidst the flurry of change and celebration, Milo had navigated a whirlwind of responsibilities, each task contributing to the harmonious settling of their world. With the dust of transformation finally settling, he found himself at a crossroads. The time had come for him to gracefully step away from his duties, a decision he made with a heart full of contentment. The moment of his resignation marked a new beginning, a transition into a life of his own design. With unwavering eagerness, Milo wasted no time in extending an invitation to Vivienne. Their shared journey had been one of twists and turns, and now, in a cozy corner of a charming restaurant, they raised their glasses in a toast to newfound freedom. "Congratulations on your newfound freedom," Vivienne exclaimed with genuine enthusiasm, her eyes dancing with shared excitement. "So, what's your first order of business?" A soft smile graced Milo's lips, his gaze tender as it met Vivienne's. "Actually, I've already achieved what I initially wanted," he replied, his words imbued with a subtle playfulness that ignited a blush on Vivienne's cheeks. Chuckling softly, she quickly recovered. "I meant after our celebration here," she clarified, a playful glint in her eyes. Milo's expression shifted to one of contemplation, his thoughts dancing among the myriad possibilities that lay before him. After a brief moment, his face brightened with a sense of resolve. "Well," he began, his voice carrying a touch of anticipation, "I've always wanted to immerse myself in the enchantment of a theater performance." "Shall we be off then?" "The theater performance is about to begin." Vivienne's voice was brimming with enthusiasm, her excitement palpable as she signaled the waiter for the bill. However, her motion was halted by Milo, a subtle yet firm gesture that shifted the course of their plans. "The bill has already been settled. Let's not keep the theater waiting," Milo interjected with a warm smile, extending his hand towards her. Vivienne's heart skipped a beat, an unspoken connection igniting between them as she reached out and clasped his hand with genuine delight. Hand in hand, they stepped out of the restaurant, the world beyond shimmering with the promise of adventure. Vivienne couldn't help but notice the intimacy of their gesture, a sense of companionship that seemed to bridge the gap between friendship and something more. As they strolled along, the anticipation of the upcoming theater performance was accompanied by an underlying awareness. Vivienne felt a newfound energy coursing through her, a realization that this shared experience was akin to a date, a notion that both thrilled and intrigued her. Yet amidst the whirlwind of excitement, a more introspective thought tugged at the corners of Vivienne's mind. "When is the right time to reveal my true feelings to Milo?" she wondered, her thoughts drifting to the prospect of a lifelong partnership that she had come to cherish. With each step, the world around them seemed to echo the rhythm of their shared journey, a delicate dance of emotions and unspoken dreams. As they approached the theater, Vivienne's heart swelled with a mixture of anticipation and a quiet resolve. Staring at the vibrant posters that adorned the theater's board, Vivienne found herself in a delightful dilemma. Should I opt for a romantic tale, or perhaps dive into the light-hearted realm of comedy? Her thoughts swirled with contemplation, each option holding its own allure. Turning her attention to Milo, she was met with his curious gaze. "Which one would you prefer?" he inquired, his tone laced with genuine interest. A decision formed in Vivienne's mind, a notion that seemed to fit the current ambience like a glove. Why not set the stage for a romantic mood, she reasoned, her finger extending to the poster depicting a tale of love and enchantment. Milo's nod of agreement was accompanied by the exchange of currency, and soon enough, they were holding tickets to a world of romance and possibility. As they ascended to their seats, Vivienne felt a flicker of surprise at the elevated vantage point. Yet, a realization dawned: Milo's origins weren't of modest means, and his ability to secure such a view was a testament to the world he hailed from. Their seats provided a panoramic view of the stage below, a tableau of emotions waiting to unfold. As the performance commenced, Vivienne felt herself drawn into the narrative, swept away by the interplay of emotions and the magic of the storytelling. Each scene played out like a dance, weaving a tapestry of connection between the characters and the audience. Amidst the captivating scenes, Vivienne couldn't help but notice the subtle shift in the atmosphere. The romantic ambience of the play, seemed to seep into their surroundings, casting a spell that was impossible to resist. As the final act approached, a tender connection had settled between Vivienne and Milo, a shared experience that mirrored the unfolding story on stage. As the curtain fell and the lights rose once more, Vivienne found herself exchanging a knowing smile with Milo. The world of romance had woven its threads around them, and the effects were undeniable. Hand in hand, they descended from their lofty perch, the echoes of the play's enchantment still resonating within them. As the day gently surrendered to the embrace of night, Milo guided Vivienne to a tranquil corner, the hushed ambience of the surroundings creating an atmosphere of intimacy and possibility. Vivienne's heart beat in rhythm with the tender moment, her intuition affirming that the time had come to share her feelings. "Milo," she began, her voice steady despite the flutter of emotions within her, "there's something I've been wanting to tell you. I can't deny that my feelings for you have grown stronger over time, and I've come to a realization." The air seemed to hold its breath as she spoke, the weight of her words permeating the space between them. A soft smile graced her lips, a reflection of the vulnerability she was embracing. With a deep breath, she continued, her gaze locked onto Milo's, seeking a connection that transcended words. "I truly like you, Milo. Would you consider being my partner in this journey called life? Will you walk beside me as we navigate the unknown, share our dreams, and build a future together?" Time seemed to pause as her words lingered in the air, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. Vivienne's heartbeat echoed the rhythm of their shared moment, a melody that encapsulated the depth of her feelings and the hope that hung between them. In this quiet corner of the world, under the embrace of the night, she awaited Milo's response, her heart open to whatever the future might hold. "I would be honored," Milo responded, his voice carrying a warmth that mirrored the affection in his eyes. "In fact, I was thinking the very same thing." His smile, radiant with happiness, seemed to illuminate the space around them, a beacon of shared emotions. As the words hung in the air, a tender vulnerability blossomed, laying bare their mutual desires and hopes. A gentle request followed, Milo's voice a soft caress that held a touch of playfulness. "May I kiss you?" In response, Vivienne leaned in, her heart beating in tandem with the anticipation that filled the air. Their lips met in a delicate fusion, a tender connection that encapsulated the myriad emotions coursing through them. Time seemed to slow, the world around them fading into insignificance as they shared a moment that felt like the perfect culmination of their journey together. The kiss, sweet and poignant, lingered for a heartbeat before gradually drawing to a close. As they pulled away, a soft smile graced both their lips, an unspoken understanding passing between them. The night, which had begun with a touch of uncertainty, had transformed into a tapestry of shared feelings and newfound love. Hand in hand, they continued their journey, each step guided by the promise of a future woven together, where their dreams, aspirations, and hearts entwined to create a story uniquely their own. And as the night embraced them, they walked forward, ready to explore the chapters of their intertwined destinies, with hearts full of hope and the tender promise of love. 6 months later. I had envisioned a world filled with romantic moments shared with Milo, yet here I am, entwined in the duties of caring for the future crown prince. Vivienne mused inwardly, a wry smile playing at the corners of her lips. Cradling the blonde-haired baby in her arms, she couldn't help but marvel at the unpredictability of life. Across the room, Milo was a steady presence, his dependable nature shining through as he prepared blankets and milk for the infant. It was a scene that spoke of partnership, the intertwining of their lives in a way Vivienne hadn't quite foreseen. As she gazed at the baby in her arms, a mixture of bemusement and awe colored her thoughts. Not exactly the love story I had imagined, but perhaps this is our unique tale, she reflected, her heart warmed by the shared responsibility they had willingly embraced. "Thank you, Milo," she murmured, her gaze meeting his in a silent exchange of understanding. In the midst of their newfound roles, a bond was forming, one that transcended romance and delved into the intricacies of shared experiences. Who would have thought that a single letter could lead to me becoming a babysitter? Yet, considering the Emperor's demanding schedules, I suppose there's no other option, Vivienne mused, a mixture of amusement and resignation tinging her thoughts. "Indeed, these experiences are preparing us for the future," Milo remarked, his words carrying a depth of meaning that caused a blush to rise to Vivienne's cheeks. In his simple statement, she could glimpse the contours of a life he envisioned with her, a life intertwined with shared responsibilities and heartfelt moments.